It even went to the Supreme Court to be debated by the justices. And that has been the agreement among all the policymakers. No? So that's why, in my opinion, the RHE, as enshrined in the law, is the most culturally sensitive to us because we discussed that many times. And if the concept evolves later on, no, becomes sexuality education or comprehensive sexuality education, then that's the time we debate again. No? Maybe in a law or through policy. But right now, as we stand, the RH law is the existing law that should be implemented. And in fact, that's the reason why President Duterte in 2017 issued an executive order to really implement it as fast as possible. No? So having said that, I'll go back to the DepEd. So based on my information, only 157,000 teachers have been trained. Issued an executive order to
Sorry, Mr. Chair. We're verifying that information now, Mr. Chair.
because that's also very important. I go back to implementation because, like I said earlier on in this hearing, that it's important that our teachers know what to do inside the classroom in teaching, in this case, sexual CSE, comprehensive sexuality education. And another question that came about is in the presentation of Chief Justice Sereno. She showed a curriculum. Can we show that, the curriculum? The curriculum that the Chief Justice showed earlier. Is that in our present curriculum right now?
In terms of these,
Mr. Chair, I was looking at the presentation as well, and I cannot locate that in any of our documents, in our official documents at DepEd. As I mentioned earlier, the comprehensive sexuality education is implemented in DepEd through a series of competencies that are already there. So we're just mapping out these competencies that will eventually lead to a comprehensive sexual education program that we have at DepEd. So those documents that I see, I have to verify, Mr. Chair.
The ones in case Chief Justice in kanina. Yes. Yeah. Because that came from what I understand, that came from based on our research from the curriculum of the pilot programs. No?
I am
You
not
conducted a pilot program for CSE, and that was the curriculum contained in that pilot program.
That's right, Mr. Chair. But this one, the presentations, I'm not 100% sure. But it seems to me like these are from presentations from resource speakers. Those are perhaps the type of typology that they want to apply in the curriculum. But in the current version of the curriculum itself, I really did not see those words, the exact words.
No,
Mr. Chair.
My staff cross-check this one. No? This is from the pilot program. This is when when DepEd implemented the 3-region pilot program. It contained this. Paki-zoom lang. It contained this descriptions. No? This is what CJ Sereno picked up and cross-checked, no, earlier. Hindi kay CJ CJ. Yeah, go ahead, CJ.
Those slides were presented in the September 2022 rollout. It was a 4-day rollout. It was presented to so many people, and DepEd made it available online. It was the September 2022. Senator, and the slide numbers are all there. You can physically see them there.
So again, there's confusion now, no? My staff actually saw this in the full set ng competencies. This is a pilot, diba? Yes, sir. I think me and our staff and CJ Sereno have the same data, that this came from the pilot program that was implemented. And I think that's the same slide that CJ Sereno saw when this program was being rolled out. So is this in the program? Is this in the curriculum right now?
In the curriculum that I have, Mr. Chair, I didn't see exactly those things, for example, in here. But what we've shown you, for example, the mapping, that's what I have right now, Mr. Chair.
The pilot program and the curriculum is not the same.
I'll have to verify that information, Mr. Chair. Perhaps these are presentations by, again, the resource speakers about some of the framework of how CSE is to be implemented. But in the final documents that we have, Mr. Chair, those are not in there.
The final document, the final curriculum, it's being implemented right now. That has been officially cascaded to all of our schools.
That is my understanding, Mr. Chair. Yes.
Okay, and it's implemented in school year 2022-2023. Is that correct?
That was the implementation year, yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then there's a disconnect again between the pilot curriculum, which CJ Sereno has, and we have it also here, and also what you are implementing on the ground.
We'll have to verify that information, Mr. Chair.
And which was used to train teachers. Because apparently there are two materials now. Which was used to train teachers?
I cannot 100% accurately say that which one is the one that was presented,
The
Mr.
problem,
Chair.
Deped, kasi with your answers is doesn't give me any confidence that CSE is being implemented properly. I don't get straight answers from any of you. Sabi ni Yusek kanina, confused siya. Kaya Asak naman ngayon, hindi niya alam. So how do we move forward with CSE? If your answer is confused and I don't know.
My apologies again, Mr. Chair. We have to really we'll verify this information so that will provide your office as soon as possible the accurate information.
That's why in the initial part, that's why I recommended to suspend because I'm not getting any straight answers. The intention might be good. I think we're all in unison that we want to end or reduce teenage pregnancies, incidences of HIV, eliminate violence among the youth. And you suggested, DepEd suggested that the methodology will be, or the mode to do that is through CSE. But what we're hearing right now is the implementation is quite hazy and not concrete. And that's my worry again. That's why even beyond talking to DepEd National, I also talk to our teachers on the ground. I want to know how teachers are implementing it on the ground. That's why I took the liberty to talk to our teachers in Valenzuela on the ground. And iba-iba yung answers eh. It seems to me, my picked up of the CSE is it's not also so clear for them on how to implement it. And I don't blame them because I'm getting the same answers from DepEd Central. Go ahead, Yusek.
Yeah, Your Honor, may I clarify? Your Honor, I'm not confused, Your Honor. It's the policy is clear to me. What I mentioned a while ago is I understand the source of confusion, and the source of confusion is that the Department Order number 31 is generally worded. However, that confusion may be resolved by looking into the curriculum because the curriculum itself provided for details, Your Honor. And I think for the slides being presented, our curriculum strand is clear that these items are not to be found in the current curriculum. What we are just trying to verify, Your Honor, is what is the source of these documents and when they are presented so that we can provide an accurate answer, Your Honor.
Well, what I'm getting right now is, to be honest about it, this is my personal analysis and my personal opinion, that the CSE being implemented right now is not the CSE that it's not the CSE that Filipinos are attuned to or not culturally sensitive to our own Filipino culture. And I'll show you a slide here in slide 21. If you map out the 7 concepts of DepEd and put it together side by side with the 8 concepts of UNESCO, It's almost the same. So we more or less copied what UNESCO gave to us. And that's why there are fears now among our parents and among our um, civil society groups and NGOs that this will open the doors to our youth in terms of very liberal and very radical concepts on sexuality. And that's not the intention. That's why my suggestion is let's go back to the basics, what the law prescribed, and the law prescribed a reproductive health education to adolescents. That's the basics. And I do appreciate that DepEd now is reviewing the CSE program. And if you ask me, just call it reproductive health education because that's what is in the law. It's not CSE. If you want to amend the law, go ahead. We can amend the law and debate on it again. If that is now the requirement of the times, then we're open to debates. I'm open to listening to it. But for purposes of moving forward, let's just implement the law. Because what you are implementing right now is not what the law prescribes. In other words, the CHE education is not yet being implemented. It's absent. That's my opinion. That's my own opinion. No? So I do appreciate that DepEd is already reviewing the program, and please furnish us your analysis, your recommendation on how to move forward with this CSE program of yours. No? But also consider suspending it at least in the meantime. I'm not saying suspending it for a long time, but suspending it because my rationale there is it's also creating confusion on the ground. No? And we don't want that to happen. We don't want a scenario wherein one teacher will now refer to the UNESCO guidebook, and when the teacher opens the guidebook, sees all of these very radical ideas and implements it on the ground. We don't want that scenario. It has to be very clear to the teachers what their boundaries are. No? And if you ask me, for Key Stage 1, for kindergarten all the way to grade 3, dalawa lang dapat ituro natin. The 2 M's, magbasa, magbilang. And leave it to the parents, no, in terms of how to educate their children in terms of sex education. Because that's, for me, the parents should also play an active role in educating their children in reproductive health / sex education. All right. Any comments before we terminate the hearing? Any comments from? We call on CJ Serrano first, and then to Mr. Corrales of the PSA.
May I request, Your Honor, that the parental effectiveness servicing program be really strengthened in many ways, because even its implementing rules are really good, because it's really talking about a whole of community approach, and it does not look down on the faith-based sector. So this is something that is very important, because the latest data on the Filipinos' view on the value of religion is 73%. Value religion very much. The self-identification by young people with religion is very high. It's 99%. 78% Catholics, 76% Catholics, 18% are other Christian groups, 6% are Muslims. That's very high. And then their frowning on the disapproval of abortion is 95%. That gives us an indication of the kind of culture we have. And fully, the Reproductive Health Act in Section 14 allows us to address sexual abuse and violence. There is actually nothing that that escapes the Section 14 ambit with respect to addressing the problems that were described today. What CSE introduces is a completely alien culture, insisting on the rights to sexuality and gender ideology, which is the part that we are really strongly objecting to. Thank you, Mr. Senator.
Thank you, CJ. Yes, Mr. Corrales.
Sir, like I said, parental view on the matter. Like what the former Chief Justice mentioned and what Dr. Laila was able to mention, there are some social and cultural and even religious aspects that are affected by this particular law or bill. Now, as far as being a parent is concerned, we also must consider the possibility of dealing with a teenage male, the male counterpart of the pregnant lady. I had been involved in giving advices in PSA concerning the legitimacy and illegitimacy of a child, etc., etc. And there are minor biological fathers who are really willing to support the pregnant lady. Unfortunately, there are several considerations. Number one, if the father is a minor, chances are he could not support the family. Number two, even if the minor father would like to take care of the mother and the child, there are also considerations of the grandfather and grandmother admitting the children as a couple. And sometimes they even intervene with the relationship of the minors, even though the woman is already pregnant. So I do not know if this is a subject of legislation or this is a subject of another legislation. I would like to believe that the father, a minor or not, should be a part of the discussion, because if we can convince the father and his family to support the pregnant teenage mother, then it would help government address the issues better. Financially, the family of the father or the father himself can support, and it would relieve the government of burden in supporting the teenage mother and the child. That's only my 2 cents worth.
Thank you for that comment. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Siguro po sa kasagutan doon sa tanong nyo kanina kung bakit bumababa yung live births din sa mga 15 to 19. I think it's not just a natural incident, but there are two factors that we've looked into. One, base po dun sa pag-aaral po ng PIDS, no, as a woman, improves in terms of his socioeconomic condition, napapag-aral, nagkakaroon ng mas mataas na antas ng pinag-aralan at na-improve yung kanyang socioeconomic condition, yung kanyang fertility behavior po tends to translate into lower fertility level. And I think that's also true with giving proper information to women so that mas maano po siya mag-decide in terms of fertility-related decisions. Another thing po is I think we have also to give due recognition to all institutions, government agencies, CSOs, development partners who have a lot of interventions being done, ongoing at saka nakaplano po. It is not as if we are not doing something po talaga. Marami na po tayong interventions na ginagawa na matagal na rin po na even prior to the reproductive health law implementation. So I believe that all of those interventions contributed din po doon sa pagbaba po ng somehow ng adolescent pregnancy among those ages. And it only shows na kung bakit tumataas yung 10 to 14. It calls for a more intensified intervention for this segment of population. Baka po kulang yung intervention for that age kasi in most intervention po na ginagawa natin talaga mga high school level po yung focus niya. So it's high time din po for us to look into that segment of population. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Attorney Pineda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to humbly second the opinion of our good representative from PSA that in these conversations, we would also humbly like to suggest that we include more youth voices and that we listen more to the needs, aspirations, and to the wants of our Filipino youth when we decide the future of our Filipino youth. And as an ending statement from the National Youth Commission, we would like to reaffirm our strong resolve to serve every single Filipino youth out there, no matter where they fall within the spectrum. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And let me also direct the DSWD Yusek Dimaporo to hasten the implementation of PS. DSWD is the implementing agency, so this should go hand in hand with whatever DepEd is doing in terms of RH education or CSE education. We cannot leave the parents alone. No, they have to be trained as much as we can in order for them to respond to this type of societal problems. No? All right.
Cover
Good.
photo si
Yes, Mr. Chair,
Justin
we had a meeting
para
with
sa YouTube.
DepEd last October, and we
Forward
are
ko
just
siya.
talking
Sa
that we'll
kanya.
have a meeting as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Palitan
Thank
na.
you. Dapat just
Papalitan na
submit to
lang
us all
after
the
ng
documents
picture.
related to CSE, the curriculum guides, the training, the department orders, everything that pertains to DO 31 and the subsequent actions that you have undertaken.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any last and yes, Mr. Dongeto.
Sorry, just a short comment on the earlier mentioned abstinence only until marriage, no, the proposal. I would like to again mention that victims of sexual violence age 10 to 14 as explained earlier, these are the 3,343 victims, no, of sexual violence. Hindi po sila for the lack of better word, hindi po sila naglandi. Sila po ay biktima. So abstinence will not resolve these problems of violence, sexual violence against children. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think abstinence was meant to be taught as way to avoid teenage pregnancies. Of course, the context is different, no? But thank you for voicing that out. But I think the context there was to avoid teenage pregnancies and unwanted pregnancies. All right. Any closing words? Yes, Yusek.
Mr. Chair, just an assurance that the current leadership of DepEd is listening and very open to ideas of different groups. We are currently reviewing DO 31 and we will reach out to the different groups, Mr. Chair, so that when we come up with the new, if any, will be issued, it will be coming from different stakeholders, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So with that final comment, we will suspend this hearing so that we can have another one if need be. This is subject to the submissions from DepEd and the SWD on those required items. So with that, I thank everyone for their very active participation, very candid comments, and like Ms. Dr. Leila mentioned earlier, this is democracy. We might not agree on our different opinions, but it's good to discuss and learn from one another. So thank you very much. This hearing is hereby suspended.